Do you remember in 2012 when Team GB had a team at the London Olympics? We had a 38-year-old Ryan Giggs, we had a prime Micah Richards, a wide-eyed Aaron Ramsey and loads of more random players. But why isn't the UK allowed a team in the 2024 Olympics or any other Olympics for that matter? So in this video I'm going to explain why Team GB doesn't have a men's football team anymore. Unlike the World Cup, which is under FIFA's watchfly, and the same with Euros, with UEFA, the Olympics is under the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee. In UEFA and FIFA competitions, each country in the UK, England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, all have their own governing body, their own FA, which means they compete in these tournaments individually. But to be fair, in the 20th century, Team GB did actually have a team which competed, and they saw them win in the 1908 Olympics and then in the 1912 Olympics. It actually only got to the 1970 Olympics where the UK no longer had a male football team. This was because throughout time, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland worried that they might have to merge in other tournaments with England, and with that comes a lot more competition. I think the players were the main voices of this, because if you're Northern Irish, Welsh, less of a push, but Scotland, they don't have the football facilities or even the culture as much as England, and just the standard of quality in England compared to the other three countries is a lot higher, so it'll be a lot harder for these players to play in the World Cup and the Euros. This was only exempted in 2012 after 1970 in the London Olympics, where Team GB were allowed to have a squad, and I'll just quickly run through it. It was Jack Butland and Jason Steele in there, Neil Taylor, who was Welsh, Ryan Bertrand, Stephen Corker, Craig Dawson, James Tonkins, Micah Richards. Then in midfield you had Danny Rose, Tom Cleverley, Joe Allen, Ryan Giggs, both Welsh, Jack Cork, Aaron Ramsey, another Welshman, Scott Sinclair, Daniel Sturridge, Craig Bellamy, obviously Welsh, and Marvin Sordell. So there was actually no Scottish players and no Northern Irish players in the team. The rules say that you can only have 3 players over the age of 23, which was Ryan Giggs, Micah Richards and Craig Bellamy, and the rest have to be under the age. But looking back, it was actually quite a disappointing run for Team GB. We were in our home nation and we were in a group with Uruguay, Senegal and United Arab Emirates. We topped that group with 7 points, and then we actually lost to South Korea on penalties in the quarterfinals. But before this, there was actually protest from other nations that they didn't want to be a part of it. Welsh fans in particular, and I even believe the Welsh FA, were protesting it because they thought it took away from the credibility of Wales as an international football nation. Welsh fans even protested at a home game against Norway in 2012 with a banner saying no Team GB, and even Aaron Ramsey at the time, who was only 23 and he was just on his way to becoming a top player at Arsenal, he said that there is absolutely no way I play in the Olympic team if it was going to affect Wales' identity as an individual nation. But he went to play anyway, so I suppose he thought it didn't affect Wales as a footballing nation. And to me, it's just silly, because the fact that in the Olympics, the UK is still the UK Team GB and it's not England, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. I mean, it's like that in other sports. In football, you have all 4 footballing nations. Rugby, the same. I don't see why it's still like that in the Olympics, because it's even a weird one that even Andy Murray, before he retired this season, English fans would support a Scotsman, but they would absolutely hate if England were playing Scotland in the World Cup. And it causes issues because Neil Taylor, Ryan Giggs, Craig Bellamy and Joe Allen were all criticised for not singing the national anthem, God Save the Queen, at the time. Why would you expect them to sing the English national anthem? They are Welsh. And to me, it's a completely outdated thing that I think just needs to be changed. All 4 countries have their own personalities. I know there are a lot of Scottish people, Northern Irish people who associate well with the royal family and just being part of Great Britain. But I think a lot of people in each nation would argue that they'd rather have individuality in the Olympics. Yes, they might get less medals because I know they join them all together through the Olympics. England would not have any tennis medals really in the Olympics or Wimbledon whatsoever. It's all been Andy Murray. And then it'll be cool because then all 4 footballing nations could qualify for the Olympics, and the youth players could get a chance in playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people on TV, millions. Because it's like in the French squad, for example, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's had a great season at Crystal Palace, is starting for the French team with Alexander Lacazette. And he would get nowhere near the proper French team who just got bounced out in the Euros a couple of weeks ago. But it's still good for him that he can get recognised for being still a top quality player, just not as good as Kylian Mbappe. But to completely contradict that point, I'd be lying if when I was 13 years old during that London Olympics, and I didn't go, I'd love to see Gareth Bale start for this England team in the 2012 Euros. But alas, here we are. But I think the women's team actually has a better process of qualifying for the Olympics, at the time of the Olympics, they give the highest rated nation out of the four the chance to qualify through the groups, and that was England this year. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify. I believe they came second in their Nations League group, which has to take them to the tournament. So we won't see any UK teams play in the Olympics this summer. But just do that, because then you can have no conflict against it, and you can have these young players and maybe some mid-range players who didn't make the Euro squad this year for England. They can play in the Olympics and try and win a gold medal. Saying that, I think the only issue would be if it isn't England who qualify, you'd have Scotsmen, Welshmen and Northern Irishmen. If they win, which you never know, they'd have to listen to God Save the King whilst they're receiving their medals, which I bet just 99% of them would absolutely despise. But we'll see. I think it's a completely outdated rule, and I wish it would change, because I wish England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales had each athlete from their home country representing them. Because if I see a Welsh athlete or a Northern Irish athlete running or jumping in the Olympics, yes, I'll still support them because they're part of the UK and the Team GB and all that nonsense, but you still want probably someone from your home nation to represent you, and that's just not the case. So I reckon probably eventually will change, and it would be good, because someone like a Dom Solanke, who had a fantastic season last year for Bournemouth, didn't get called up to the Euro squad. Fair enough, there was a lot of competition, but it'd still be good to see him on an international stage, because he's too old to be in the under-23s, but he's maybe not good enough in people's opinions for the male national team. So there's that middle ground, in my opinion, for the Olympics that could be best for all parties, and then you get the chance to have a great experience, which would be fantastic for everyone. But let me know what you think about the situation, if you think they should divide all four teams up just in general in the Olympics, or do you think they should keep them together and keep them as a united kingdom. But if you could leave a like on the video if you liked it, and if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be fantastic. But thanks for watching.